Have you ever felt like something inside you was calling you higher? Like your life was never meant to be ordinary? What if I told you that everything you've endured, every heartbreak, delay, and detour was never random, but a divine setup for your awakening? This isn't just another motivational talk. This is your spiritual wake-up call. In this video, I'm going to show you how God has been shaping you behind the scenes, how every battle that nearly broke you was actually preparing you to rise stronger, bolder, and more alive than ever before. You see, this is where faith meets fire, where your past pain becomes the foundation for your future purpose. The promise is simple. If you stay with me until the end, you will leave this moment not just encouraged, but transformed. Together, we'll unlock the deeper truth of your story and help you build a positive mindset that aligns with heaven's design for your life. This is your time to rise in faith, to see your journey not as punishment, but as preparation for something greater. So subscribe to Spiritual Journals right now and turn on the notifications, because we're building a community of believers who refuse to give up before the breakthrough. Every share, every comment, every prayer helps spread God's word and light across the world. Thank you for being here. You're not here by accident. You were led here for a reason, and by the time this video ends, you'll know exactly why. The design behind the detour. Chosen one. Listen closely, because this is not just another inspirational word, it's a breakthrough message straight from the heart of heaven. Nothing in your life has been wasted. Not a single tear, not a single lonely night, not even the moments you thought broke you. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour was sacred in disguise. You called it failure, but heaven called it formation. You called it bad timing, but God called it divine preparation. You see, the detours of your life were not roadblocks. They were training grounds for the destiny you didn't even know you were being prepared for. God has been building something in you quietly, deliberately, with precision that only hindsight will reveal. Sometimes He had to close doors to open your discernment. Sometimes He had to let people walk away so your dependency could shift from humans to Him. Every rejection was redirection, every heartbreak was holy construction, and every silence was heaven's workshop shaping your inner strength. When life didn't go as planned, it wasn't because God forgot you. It was because He was too busy orchestrating the details of your becoming. Remember Joseph in Genesis? His brothers threw him into a pit, sold him into slavery, and lied about his death. To the natural eye, it looked like betrayal, but to the spiritual eye, it was the setup of a lifetime. That pit was the passageway to the palace. The same brothers who wounded him were the ones who later had to come to him for help. Joseph didn't get there by comfort, he got there by calling. And chosen one, the same God who turned Joseph's detour into deliverance is doing the same for you. You think you've been delayed, but God has been developing you. You think you've been overlooked, but heaven has been overprotecting you. Because sometimes protection looks like isolation. Sometimes God hides you until the right season, not because you're forgotten, but because you're being refined. You weren't meant to bloom in just any soil. You were meant to bloom in the place where His glory will shine through you the brightest. There's a divine sequence unfolding even in what looks like setbacks. The closed doors you cried over were actually locks keeping you safe from premature exposure. If that relationship had worked out, if that opportunity had come too early, it would have broken the very foundation God was trying to strengthen. You are being built for longevity, not popularity. And God loves you too much to let you rise before your roots are deep enough to hold the weight of your purpose. That's what this detour has been about, rooting you in resilience, anchoring you in faith, maturing you in grace. The Bible says in Romans 8:28, all things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to His purpose. Not some things, all things. The betrayal, the confusion, the waiting, the wondering, they are all working for your good. That means even the pain you didn't pray for is serving a purpose. The detour didn't destroy you, it developed you. It built muscles you didn't know you had. It taught you how to pray when no one else was listening. It made you stronger, wiser, softer, and more dangerous to the enemy than ever before. Because a believer who has been broken and still believes is a weapon heaven can use. And you, chosen one, have become that weapon. This is why the enemy fought so hard to make you quit. He wasn't attacking your life, he was attacking your future. He saw what was coming before you did. He saw your potential to break generational curses, to heal hearts, to speak life where others only saw death. He saw that your yes to God would cause ripples across eternity, and he tried to bury you before you bloomed. But here you are, still standing, still believing, still carrying the light. That's not weakness, that's divine resilience. The detour didn't defeat you, it revealed the warrior in you. God is saying, my child, I had to take you the long way so you could handle the blessing when it arrived. Remember how he led the Israelites through the wilderness instead of straight into the promised land? Exodus 13:17 says that God didn't take them by the shorter route because they would have turned back when they saw battle. The longer way wasn't punishment, it was protection. God knew they needed wilderness wisdom before they could handle the promise. And you too have been walking your wilderness with purpose. The path may have felt confusing, but every step was ordained. Heaven's map doesn't follow human logic. When you couldn't trace God's hand, he was still guiding your steps. And now, beloved, you are entering the season where it all starts to make sense. The connections that failed, the dreams that seemed delayed, the tears that fell in silence, they're all becoming threads in the masterpiece of your destiny. You see, what looks like random pieces on the ground from your perspective looks like divine art from heaven's view. God is the master architect of your story. Every brick of pain, every stone of endurance, every beam of hope, it's all part of the structure he's been building called your future. He never stopped writing your story. He was just building its strength behind the scenes. And when the blueprint finally unfolds, you will see that not a single moment was wasted. So hold on, chosen one, because the orchestration of heaven is shifting in your favor. The same God who turned water into wine can turn your worst detour into your greatest destiny. You will soon look back and say, if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be this strong. Your pain was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to activate what's been sleeping inside you. There is power in you that only pressure could release. The oil that anoints kings comes from crushed olives. The perfume that fills a room comes from broken alabaster. And the glory that rests on your life comes from every season that tried to break you, but couldn't. This is your breakthrough message. What you called a delay was actually divine design. You're not behind, you're being positioned. You're not forgotten, you're being fortified. And soon, everything that once confused you will turn into confirmation. The detour was never meant to detain you. It was meant to define you. So stand tall, breathe deep, and trust the process. Because the God who began this work in you is faithful to complete it. And when he does, the world won't just see your comeback, they'll see his craftsmanship. You are the proof that divine detours lead to divine destinies.
The power within the process. Chosen one, this is not just a word of encouragement. It's a prophetic reminder that the power you've been searching for has been inside you all along. You were never meant to borrow strength from the world because heaven placed strength within you before you even faced the storm. This is your faith and healing moment, where the divine meets the human and the impossible starts to make sense. You are not just enduring the process, you are being transformed by it. What looks like breaking is actually birthing. What feels like an ending is really a beginning wrapped in disguise. The same Spirit that raised Christ from the dead is breathing through your veins, whispering to your weary soul, "Rise again." You are not fighting for power, you are awakening to it. This is the mystery of faith and healing. Faith does not always remove the mountain. Sometimes it gives you the strength to climb it. Healing is not just the absence of pain, it's the presence of peace in the middle of it. God is not asking you to be perfect. He's asking you to be present, to believe that what He started in you cannot die before it's complete. The process you're in is not punishment. It's proof that heaven still has plans for you. Do you remember the woman with the issue of blood in Mark 5? For 12 long years, she suffered, searching for relief from everyone but the one who could truly heal her. And then one day, faith spoke louder than fear. She reached out, trembling, determined to touch the hem of Jesus' garment. In that one act of faith, power flowed. Healing came not just to her body, but to her spirit. Jesus said, "Daughter, your faith has made you whole." That wasn't just physical restoration, it was spiritual awakening. That same faith lives in you, chosen one. The same healing flows through your story when you dare to believe again, even after years of silence. You see, God never wastes pain. He transforms it into power. Every time you got back up when life knocked you down, faith was working. Every time you chose forgiveness over bitterness, healing was happening. Every time you worshiped with tears streaming down your face, heaven was rewriting your story. Faith and healing are not distant miracles, they are daily resurrections inside of you. Your heart has been through battles, your body has felt the weariness of the fight, but you are still here because the Spirit of the living God refuses to let you stay buried in brokenness. The same breath that brought Adam to life is breathing courage into your lungs right now. The same voice that called Lazarus out of the tomb is calling you out of fear, out of shame, out of regret. You are not too late, too far, or too damaged to be restored. In fact, the deeper the wound, the greater the glory that will rise from it. Because God heals in layers, He starts with the heart. Healing doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes it's not the removal of the thorn, but the revelation of grace in the middle of it. Paul begged God to take away his weakness, but God replied, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." That is faith and healing intertwined, where your limitation becomes God's canvas, where your scars become the signature of His mercy. Don't hide what hurt you. The world needs your healed voice. Your story is not shame, it's strategy. You didn't just survive for yourself. You survived so others could see what victory looks like after the storm. Every trial you've endured has built spiritual muscle that no one can see but everyone can feel. You carry the weight of glory now, and it shines through every healed part of you. The fire didn't consume you, it refined you. You are walking proof that God still restores what the enemy tried to destroy. You may not have seen the full picture yet, but your process is sacred. The delays, the disappointments, the prayers that seemed unanswered, they're all part of a holy equation called divine timing. God's silence was not His absence, it was His setup. While you were waiting, He was working. While you were doubting, He was developing. While you were healing, He was preparing. There is no wasted waiting in the kingdom of God. Every tear you've cried watered the soil of your next season. Every step of faith you took in pain became a seed that heaven will now cause to bloom. You've been asking God for healing, but He's been giving you transformation. You wanted a quick fix, but He wanted lasting freedom. You wanted relief, but He wanted resurrection. That's the power within the process. It doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. You become unrecognizable to the pain that once owned you. You begin to move differently, speak differently, believe differently. That's what happens when faith and healing collide. You no longer walk like the wounded, you walk like the redeemed. You no longer pray from fear, you pray from authority. Because once you've been through the fire and found God still faithful, you carry a different kind of power, the power of peace that passes understanding. Beloved, the strength you're discovering right now is not for survival, it's for assignment. God didn't bring you this far to sit you in safety. He's raising you to carry healing to others. The same comfort He gave you in your midnight moments will flow through you to comfort others. That's why your heart still beats after every battle, because your story is not over, it's just shifting. You are being equipped to walk into places where broken people hide and remind them that God still makes beauty out of ashes. That's your calling. That's your purpose. That's why you had to walk through fire to become the flame that guides others home. When Jesus healed the lepers, only one came back to thank him, and he said, "Your faith has made you whole." That one didn't just get healed, he got transformed. You see, faith and healing don't just fix the body, they restore the soul. They rebuild identity. They remind you who you are and whose you are. You are God's creation, His vessel of light, His chosen messenger of mercy. Every scar on your soul carries the fingerprint of His faithfulness. So today, release the weight of yesterday. Take a deep breath and remember, the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is alive in you right now. The same hands that healed the blind are holding your future steady. The same love that conquered death is conquering your doubt. You are not breaking down, you are breaking open. This is your faith and healing season. Stand tall, breathe deeply, and know that your process is not your prison, it's your preparation for purpose. God is not finished with you yet. The power within you is awakening, and soon the world will see what heaven already knows. You are healed, you are whole, and you are walking proof that faith still works and healing still happens.
The Orchestration of Destiny. Chosen one, take a deep breath and look back for a moment. Not with regret, but with revelation. Can you see it now? The people who came and went, the doors that opened and then closed, the prayers that seemed unanswered, the nights you cried yourself to sleep, all of it was connected. Not 1 second of your life has been wasted. What you thought was chaos was actually choreography. Heaven has been weaving a masterpiece called your personal growth, and the threads of it are more divine than you could have ever imagined. You didn't just survive those seasons, you were sculpted by them. You were being stretched, refined, and prepared for something that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. You see, destiny is not an accident, it's an orchestration. A divine symphony where even the dissonant notes serve the melody of purpose. God has been composing your life one moment at a time, using joy and pain, abundance and lack, laughter and loss, to tune your spirit to His frequency. Every person who walked away made room for alignment. Every closed door pushed you closer to the one that was meant to open. Every delay taught you the language of patience. What you call detours were actually divine directions. That's the beauty of God's plan. It never wastes anything. You may not have understood it then, but one day you'll look back and say it had to happen that way. Because your personal growth required not just blessings, but battles. Without the struggle, you wouldn't have discovered the strength that lives inside you. Without the heartbreak, you wouldn't have known how to love with wisdom. Without the loss, you wouldn't have learned what truly matters. God doesn't build character in comfort. He builds it in conflict. And it's through those moments of breaking that He makes something unshakable. Think of Joseph again, sold by his brothers, falsely accused, thrown into prison. To the human eye, it looked like failure stacked on failure. But in heaven's eyes, every step was a staircase. His suffering was not punishment, it was positioning. When Joseph finally stood before Pharaoh, he realized that the very path that broke him was the same one that built him. That's personal growth in motion, where pain becomes preparation and struggle turns into strategy. You see, chosen one, you weren't delayed, you were developed. You weren't forgotten, you were being fortified. The silence you felt from heaven wasn't neglect, it was nurturing. God was teaching you how to hear His voice in stillness, how to walk by faith when sight failed you, how to trust that His no was actually protecting you from what could have destroyed you. Every unanswered prayer was an answer wrapped in mercy. Every waiting season was a womb where new strength was being formed. You thought you were stuck, but you were in training. Every battle you fought was building muscle in your spirit. Every heartbreak was cleansing your vision. Every rejection was redirecting your focus to something better. That's how God orchestrates destiny, not through shortcuts, but through sacred shaping. Sometimes He'll let you walk through the storm, not to break your faith, but to strengthen it. Remember Peter on the water? He stepped out in faith and began to sink, but Jesus didn't let him drown. That moment wasn't about failure, it was about growth. Peter learned that faith isn't about never falling, it's about knowing who will catch you when you do. That's what personal growth looks like. It's learning that God's grace is greater than your mistakes, that His plan doesn't crumble when yours does, and that His timing is always on schedule, even when you feel behind. Every delay is divine synchronization. Every closed door is heaven saying, "Not this one, there's a better one coming." The orchestration of destiny means everything you've faced has been leading you somewhere sacred. The betrayals taught you discernment. The loneliness taught you intimacy with God. The waiting taught you worship. The storms that shook you were actually securing your foundation. You were never out of rhythm. You were just learning heaven's tempo. And now, chosen one, you are stepping into the moment where it all begins to make sense. The same things that once made you cry will now make you grateful. The same pain that made you question everything will now become the proof that God was there all along. What you thought buried you was actually planting you. What you thought ended you was just preparing to announce you. Because destiny doesn't bloom in easy soil, it grows in the dirt of difficulty. God uses pressure to produce purpose. Just like a seed must break before it can grow, your breaking was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to release the potential locked inside you. Every time you thought it was over, heaven whispered, "Not yet, there's more to write." The story of your life has always been under divine authorship. Even the chapters that felt messy were part of the message. God is not finished, and He is not in a hurry. He's building endurance, wisdom, and compassion within you. Your personal growth is not a side effect, it's the goal. Because before He promotes you, He prepares you. Before He sends you, He shapes you. And before He reveals you, He refines you. That's the process of destiny. You are being made into someone who can carry what's coming without collapsing under its weight. You have grown in ways you don't even realize. The things that used to trigger you don't anymore. The fears that used to paralyze you have lost their grip. The pain that once felt unbearable has turned into empathy for others. You've changed, and that's the greatest evidence that the orchestration of destiny is working. Philippians 1:6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion." God doesn't start something He doesn't plan to finish. You are still under construction, still being perfected, still being pruned for purpose. The hand of heaven has never left your life. Even in your darkest nights, the light of destiny has been guiding you home. So don't despise your story. Don't wish away the process. Every experience has a purpose, and every delay has direction. Your greatest battles are not curses, they're clues. They're the signs that you're carrying something heavy in the spirit. And the enemy wouldn't fight you this hard if your destiny wasn't this important. So lift your head, chosen one, because you're not just walking through life, you're walking through a divine plan written before time began. Everything is connected, and it's all leading you to your moment of revealing. The question is not whether God is working. The question is, will you recognize that your greatest battle is actually your breakthrough in disguise? Because when you do, you'll stop questioning the process and start praising the orchestration. And that's when destiny unfolds not as a mystery, but as a masterpiece.
The final battle before abundance. Chosen one, lean in close, because what you're walking through right now is not a breakdown. It's the breakthrough that has been promised since the beginning. This is your final test, the proving ground of everything you've prayed for, cried over, and believed in. It's not a war fought with fists or fear. It's a battle fought in the stillness of surrender. It's not about fighting harder. It's about trusting deeper. This is not just another season. It's the threshold between who you were and who you're becoming. This is the moment where heaven leans in and watches how you respond to the tension before triumph. And this is your Christian motivational speech from heaven's heart to yours. You are closer than you've ever been, and what feels like pressure is actually the final push before purpose. The enemy always attacks hardest before the harvest. He whispers lies in your weakest moments because he knows what's on the other side of your endurance. But hear this, he cannot stop what God has already ordained. He cannot cancel what has been sealed by divine decree. God didn't bring you this far to abandon you at the gate of greatness. Every storm you've survived wasn't random. It was rehearsal for this very moment. You have been trained by tears, refined by rejection, and strengthened by stillness. The weight you feel is not punishment, it's preparation. You've been in the wilderness long enough to learn how to trust without proof, how to walk without sight, how to believe without evidence. And now, heaven is saying, it's time. The final battle is not against people or circumstance. It's against doubt, fear, and the temptation to quit right before the blessing. This is the war of faith, the holy test of surrender. You are not being asked to fight harder, but to believe louder, to say with your spirit, even if it hurts, I still trust you. Even if I don't understand, I still believe. That's where victory begins, because real abundance doesn't come through striving, it comes through alignment. When your will bows to His will, abundance flows without resistance. Remember Jesus in Gethsemane? The garden wasn't about defeat, it was about surrender. When He said, "Not my will, but yours be done," the power of heaven moved into motion. That is what this moment in your life represents. It's your garden moment, your invitation to yield so that resurrection power can rise in you. You are not losing control, you are gaining clarity. You are not falling apart, you are falling into divine order.
Abundance doesn't start when everything looks easy. It begins when everything inside you says yes to God, even in the storm. You've been asking, Lord, when will my breakthrough come? But heaven is responding, when you trust me enough to stop trying to control it. This is a Christian motivational speech for your spirit. It's not about fighting for favor. It's about realizing you already have it. God's abundance isn't waiting for perfection, it's waiting for permission. Permission from your heart to let go and let Him finish what He started. Every seed you've sown in faith is now pushing through the soil. It's messy, it's unseen, but it's moving. The pressure you feel is the earth breaking so that life can rise. Don't curse the pressure. It's proof that the promise is about to emerge. The Israelites had to face the Red Sea before they saw it part. They had to stand still before they walked free. Moses didn't need a new strategy. He needed a new surrender. And when he lifted his staff in obedience, the impossible became possible. That's what your surrender does. It activates the miraculous. The final battle is not won by might, but by faith. It's a war of worship, a call to hold your peace while God fights for you. The Bible says in Exodus 14:14, "The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." That is your instruction. Stillness is not weakness, it's spiritual warfare. It's trusting that heaven is moving even when your eyes can't see it. Every delay, every disappointment, every detour has been divinely timed to make sure that when your abundance arrives, you'll have the wisdom to sustain it. You're not just stepping into blessings, you're stepping into responsibility. You've learned how to handle loss with grace, now you'll learn how to handle overflow with humility. God has tested your heart to see if you can be trusted with harvest. He has watched how you respond in scarcity, because that reveals how you'll respond in plenty. Your wilderness trains you not to worship the provision, but the provider. That's why this battle feels so personal. It's the last layer of refining before the release. You are not being defeated. You are being defined. Every trial has shaped your character to match your calling. The fire you walk through has purified your motives, stripped away your pride, and anchored your heart in truth. Now, when abundance comes, it won't distract you. It will amplify your purpose. You will no longer chase blessings. Blessings will chase you. You will no longer beg for favor. Favor will find you, because you have learned the secret of contentment in every circumstance. Paul said in Philippians 4, "I have learned the secret of being content." That contentment is what unlocks overflow. Abundance is not about having more, it's about becoming more grateful, more grounded, more generous. That's what this final battle is shaping in you, a heart big enough to carry heaven's abundance without losing sight of its source. You're about to step into a season where everything that once felt impossible will suddenly feel inevitable. The very ground that resisted you will begin to yield to you. The doors that stayed closed will open on their own. The opportunities that passed you by will circle back, because God's timing has caught up to your readiness. This is your crossover moment, where struggle meets significance and pain meets purpose. You are entering not a small season, you are entering the fulfillment of years of faithful endurance. But the key to this abundance isn't in doing more, it's in being more. Being aligned, being still, being available. When your heart is aligned with God's will, everything you need will begin to align with you. That's the rhythm of divine abundance. So don't be afraid of this final battle. Stand firm, lift your head. You're not fighting alone. The same God who parted seas, who shut the mouths of lions, who walked through fire with his people, is with you now. He hasn't brought you here to fail. He's brought you here to fulfill. The testing season is ending, and the harvest season is beginning. This is not a setback, it's a setup for overflow. You will look back and see that every storm was preparation, every waiting room was incubation, and every battle was building your authority for this very hour. So rise, chosen one, and step boldly into what's already yours. This is your Christian motivational speech from the throne room of grace. The final battle is the doorway, and abundance is waiting on the other side. Your faith has fought long enough. Now let your surrender finish the fight.
The unshakable grace of God. Chosen one, there comes a moment in every journey when you finally realize you've never been walking alone. Every tear, every detour, every season of silence was wrapped in a love so powerful, it refused to let go of you. That's the unshakable grace of God. It's not a concept, it's a covering. It's the invisible hand that caught you when you stumbled, the quiet mercy that refused to count you out when life tried to. Grace isn't earned by effort, it's received through surrender. And right now, heaven is whispering, "Rest, beloved, you are still mine." This is your moment of spiritual awakening. Not the loud kind, but the sacred kind that happens when your soul remembers who's been holding it all along. It's when you stop striving to prove yourself and start trusting that His love has already approved you. You see, grace is not just God's forgiveness, it's His invitation to begin again. It's what turns shame into strength, failure into foundation, and loss into legacy. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are the story of His mercy. God's grace doesn't erase your past. It redeems it. It takes the broken chapters and rewrites them with beauty. When the prodigal son returned home, his father didn't ask for explanations or apologies. He ran to him, wrapped him in a robe, and called for a feast. That's how grace welcomes you, running, rejoicing, restoring. That moment wasn't just about forgiveness. It was a spiritual awakening. The son didn't just come home physically, he came alive spiritually. That's what God is doing in you right now. You may feel unworthy, unready, unsure, but His grace is saying, you are already loved, already chosen, already covered. You don't have to chase what's already been given. You don't have to prove what's already been paid for. Grace doesn't wait for you to get it right. It meets you right where you are and carries you toward who you're becoming. This unshakable grace is the soil where spiritual awakening grows. It's where dreams long buried begin to breathe again, where guilt finally loses its grip, and where the heart learns to beat in rhythm with heaven's song. This is not just another season, it's a resurrection of purpose. God's love is calling you to rise from the ashes of fear and remember that you were never disqualified. The very thing you thought disqualified you is the evidence that grace has already intervened. Paul said in 2 Corinthians 12 that God's power is made perfect in weakness. That means your weakness is not a liability. It's an altar. It's the place where grace shows up and does what strength never could. That's spiritual awakening. To see your weakness as an opportunity for God to be glorified through you. You don't have to have it all together to be used by Him. You just have to be willing. Grace doesn't demand perfection. It simply asks for presence. Just show up. Just keep saying yes. Every yes you whisper in faith becomes a brick in the foundation of the legacy God is building through you. Don't underestimate those small steps of faith. The prayer you prayed when no one knew, the kindness you gave when you were running on empty, the forgiveness you chose when it hurt the most. Those moments are heaven's construction sites. That's where grace does its greatest work. Every act of obedience is a seed, and grace is the rain that makes it grow. You may not see it yet, but your obedience is calling forth miracles that have your name on them. You are not waiting on breakthrough. Breakthrough is waiting on your faith to stay consistent. You're not waiting on favor. Favor has been waiting for you to trust that you are worthy of it. God's grace is not running out, it's running over. And when you stop trying to earn it and start living from it, that's when abundance begins to flow. Look at Peter after he denied Jesus 3 times. Shame told him his story was over. Grace told him the story had just begun. Jesus didn't confront Peter with condemnation. He restored him with love. He asked, "Do you love me?" Not because he doubted Peter's heart, but because he wanted Peter to remember that love is stronger than failure. That conversation was Peter's spiritual awakening. It was the moment grace rewrote his identity. From that day forward, Peter didn't preach from perfection, he preached from redemption. That's what you're being prepared for, chosen one. You're not called to hide your scars. You're called to use them as evidence that grace is real. You are not a victim of your past, you are a vessel of His power. Every healed wound is now a window where light can shine through. The world doesn't need perfect people. It needs people who have been transformed by grace. You are that person. You are the living proof that God still takes ordinary lives and turns them into divine testimonies. This is your Christian motivational speech straight from the heart of heaven. You are stepping into a season where grace is about to speak louder than guilt. You will not be defined by what broke you, but by what built you afterwards. Your name is being written on new opportunities, new callings, new beginnings that flow out of grace, not grind. You will walk into rooms that once intimidated you, not because you're stronger, but because grace has made you free. You will speak words that heal, not because you rehearsed them, but because grace will speak through you. You are not walking alone. You are walking with the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. And where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. This is the freedom of grace. It sets you free from fear, from striving, from comparison. It reminds you that God doesn't bless who you pretend to be. He blesses who you truly are. You can rest in that. You can breathe in that. You can begin again in that. So, chosen one, dream boldly again. Trust His plans even when they stretch your comfort. His grace will meet you there. The breakthroughs you've prayed for are closer than you think, not because of how good you've been, but because of how faithful He is. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where grace wants you to be, on the edge of transformation. Your life is becoming a living sermon, a testimony of spiritual awakening written by the hand of God. So let His grace propel you forward. Let His love be the rhythm of your next step. You are not merely surviving this season, you are being resurrected in it. You are the evidence that the unshakable grace of God still transforms ordinary people into extraordinary vessels of light. That's who you are. That's who you've always been. And now, it's time for the world to see what grace has made you.
Chosen ones, take a deep breath and let this truth sink in. You made it through what was meant to destroy you because grace refused to let go of you. Every scar, every silent prayer, every sleepless night became the soil where faith grew roots. You are not just surviving anymore, you are stepping into divine alignment. If this message stirred something deep within you, type in the comments, "I am walking in divine alignment." That declaration is not for me. It's a prophetic reminder to heaven and to your own heart that you believe in the promise of your purpose. Let that be your statement of victory today. And if this word brought peace to your mind or strength to your soul, hit that like button so this message can reach more hearts that need healing. Together, we are building not just a community, but a sanctuary for Christian mental health, where faith meets restoration and where brokenness turns into beauty. This is your safe space to heal, to grow, and to rise again with hope. And before you leave, subscribe to Spiritual Journals and turn on notifications, because this is where chosen ones gather to renew their minds, refresh their spirits, and remember that they were created for more. I thank God for your life, for your courage, and for your faith that refuses to quit. I bless you now. May your thoughts be anchored in peace, your heart overflow with gratitude, and your spirit stay steady in every storm. Your victory is already written, chosen one. Walk in it.